Hi, welcome to Knit.Purl.Repeat. My name is Jess. You can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Jess's Makes. Hopefully I will add all the information to things I talk about today in the description box. But if there is something I haven't mentioned and it's not in the description box, well, no, I've mentioned it. Oh, this is a good start, right? Anyway, if it's missing, just drop me a comment in the comment box and I will do my best to enter that. This is episode 2, and I really want to thank everybody who has watched episode 1, who liked and subscribed, and who also encouraged me to continue with this podcast and gave me some ideas of things they would like to see more of in the future. So I don't know exactly how often I will come to you. It really depends on when I have time to record. So I've tried outside today on one part of our lanai, although there's a lot of ambient noise. Hopefully it's not going to be distracting. Everything decided to come out, the birds, the animals, and unfortunately that noise is some condensation that is now dripping down the drain pipe or the gutter. So we'll see. Hopefully that isn't distracting. I probably won't be out here all the time. Anyway, I'm already digressing a bit. This episode, although it's only episode 2, is going to be a sort of a special episode because it's going to be my Rhinebeck wrap-up, or what I call a group therapy. So it's all going to be about a brief recap of my experiences at the New York State Sheep and Wool Festival that happened this past weekend in Rhinebeck, New York, and the events I went to in nearby Saugerties. And it's also going to be about, well, some of the acquisitions that just happened to make it into my bag and brought home with me. So if you're interested in that, get comfortable because this could be a long episode. I understand it's not for everyone, but you know, there will be chapters, hopefully. You can pause it, you can give up, walk away. I wouldn't blame you. But let's get started and let's do it. So I am a solo traveler when it comes to going to Rhinebeck. My past two times. So I've only been to the New York State Sheep and Wool Festival now twice. I say only, but it really is something I think everyone should experience at some point if your fiber is your thing. It is an amazing event, and I'm sure you'll hear others talk about it as well. It has this otherworldly quality to it because you're there with your people. It's just full of positive energy. You have all these handcrafted items. People are wearing things they made. It's animals, it's demonstrations with the animals, it's fun events, all of it wrapped up together over a long weekend. And if you go there before the festival begins, you can also register for workshops if there's something you're interested in learning. So unfortunately, I didn't participate in any of those, partly due to time, and also by the time I decided that yes, I was going to the festival, the items I was interested in were already sold out. This year, however, I decided, due to finding a flight that went with the schedule better, to fly from the St. Pete Clearwater area nearby to Albany, New York, and then drive about an hour south to the Saugerties, Kingston, Rhinebeck area along the Hudson River so that I could attend some of the other events that were happening on Friday. As a solo traveler, this trip can be quite pricey, and I knew that on the outset because I have my own accommodation, I have to rent a car. The airfare was the least expensive part of the whole weekend, besides buying my own food and cooking. But it can be done, but I highly recommend at least meeting up with people. I mean, staying with someone else I think would be really nice as well, but definitely going with a friend, meeting up with friends, which is what I did. So over the past 2 years, I have been a patron of the Cocktail Hour at the Coop Patreon account group. And they have taken me in under their wing and helped me navigate this world of Rhinebeck. So thanks Liz, Leanne, and the rest of the group. It is really an amazing experience, and having those friends along to help you and meet up with along the way is great. But you're going to meet new people. You will strike up conversations with strangers. It's just a wonderful atmosphere. So anyway, enough of the gushy waffling about the festival. Let's take a look at the event and the items that I acquired along the way. I'm thinking as I learn to edit or try out some editing software that I'll probably put all the videos and those images at the end of this video, depending on how things go. So Friday I arrived in Albany, got my rental car, which unfortunately took an excessive amount of time. So by the time I got down to Saugerties to go to IndieUntangled for my noon to 2 o'clock shopping time, I was late. I only had just over an hour to actually shop, but it was all right. It was a fantastic venue, lots of parking, wide open space because it's held on an equestrian showground. So there were 3 long buildings, covered structures that contained the vendors. So I did have a chance to at least look through 2 of them. I plan to come back later because I also bought tickets for the 4 p.m. time slot to meet up with my friends. So I wasn't really feeling rushed. I basically wanted to take a look and then get some food before moving on to the other event in Saugerties that I'll get to in just a moment. So I looked through some of the stalls. I looked at some of the vendors that I was interested in seeing their materials in person, which is really the main part for me over in terms of the merchandise at all of the weekend, is just to be able to see the things in person, touch it, talk to the owners of the small businesses, get to know them, what they're about, and look at their items so that I could always order it online in the future if it was something I wanted. I did go with the short list of items that I wanted to contain my shopping to, so that I knew they had a plan in the future, instead of just coming home with a bunch of random items that, you think, what is this? What was I thinking at the time? So I didn't plan to do a lot of shopping at IndieUntangled because I also wanted to save things for Rhinebeck, where I knew there were specific vendors that I wanted to purchase from. I made it to the Marinated Yarns booth, where I really wanted to check out their materials because I had received a mini skein from a yarn advent stash swap that occurred last December. And so I was interested to look at the rest of their yarns. So I spent some time in that booth and talked with, I think her name was Katie. I meant to look it up, but it's on my phone and that's what I'm recording on. But they are a designer that designs using marinated yarns. And I showed them a photo of the brioche shawl that I was planning to make and the idea that I wanted for the colors. Their colors didn't jump out at me with what I had in mind originally for this shawl, what I was kind of looking for, but they were lovely. We came up with a palette of colors that are very me colors, really colors I was trying to avoid only because I always buy those colors and I wanted to branch out a bit. But in the end, I love them anyway, so I thought that's fine. We're gonna go with that because I love them. They're great. So I'll show you those. So this is the Marinated Yarns. This is their Scrumptious HT Fingering Weight yarn. It's 80% superwash merino, 10% cashmere, and 10% nylon. Let me see if I can get that to focus. There you go. I think that's in focus. I will also put that information below. So this is my main color. It is a very light, it's really a blue, I was told, but it does read as a very light gray. I was not intending to use gray because I keep going for the gray, but I'm not much of a really warm cream color person. But anyway, as I said, this is what I ended up with and I'm not sad about it. I've already started obviously working with these 2 colors. So this one is called Glacial Lake, and it is a tonal yarn. It goes from these very pale bluish greens to some lighter greens within it. So that's my color A. And then I had originally started, sorry, looking down. I had originally started using this color, which is Tidal Pool. Sorry, that's that color. My finger in the way. This is also a tonal yarn. Oops, got some fluff. It has, it has this greenish blue color with lots of other shades of green in it. They're not really coming out quite right. It's probably better back here, right? It's usually better on these cameras in the back. But what I found out is that when it comes to working with items that are striped, especially things like brioche, which is what this shawl is, I don't care for that high contrast for me personally. It looks fine, there's nothing wrong with it, but as I was making it, you know, you just get that feeling where it looks fine, but I just don't like it. And I think that's true actually now I realize of a lot of patterns, especially those that I saw at Rhinebeck. And that's another great thing about going to festivals, I think, like this, where people are wearing various patterns, is you see new patterns that you're interested in, but other patterns that maybe you had no interest in or just wasn't for you until you see other people's options and in person. And the Pressed Flowers patterns by Amy Christophers is one of those for me. It looks fine, there's nothing wrong with it, it's just not for me, I thought, until I sat down and talked to another knitter who was wearing a version of the cardigan, and they had it in a dark brown and some more muted contrast colors. So that might have to go on my list in the future. But you know, it was a learning experience. I learned about my likes and dislikes. So I have actually cast on with the other Glacial Lake color, and I'm going to mix it with something else for my stash. So I'll show you that later in another episode as my work in progress. So that's all I bought at Indie Untangled. I would definitely go back there again. So I will actually be going to Rhinebeck next year, or at least that's the plan. So hopefully I'll see some of you there if you are attending. And I'm definitely buying tickets for Indie Untangled because I want to spend some more time there. Right, after I left Indie Untangled, I had grabbed some food from the food truck that was nearest, which was a macaroni and cheese truck. So I got a little bit of that and then drove down the road into Saugerties to attend CakePalooza. So CakePalooza is a very different venue, and it is housed in a parking lot for the dye studio for Cake Wool Company. So it's very compact. There's a limited number of vendors there, but I never felt like I was squashed and I couldn't look around. It was a nice flow of people. So I was there from 2 to 4 p.m. time slot. Sorry for the birds in the background. So the 2 to 4 time slot, I met up with my friends there. So it was my first chance to get to see everybody. So it was all the hugs and shopping around together. And I got to see Vita Lifestyles yarns, Sandy by the lakeside and her glorious bags, and that lovely smell of the leather bags. I didn't come away with the leather bag, but I definitely was, yeah, ogling those a lot. There were a lot of other types of vendors in there I didn't purchase from. So right now, some of their names have just escaped my mind. Anyway, nice place, saw lots of people. And I did purchase one item that was on my list of approved shopping items, and those were some needle stoppers, no, stitch stoppers. I like to call them stitch stoppers because that's what they do. I don't know if they're needle stoppers or stitch stoppers, but either way. Oh, no, I'm trying to find them. They're over here somewhere. Oh, on my project bag. So I always find that my needle stoppers either disappear, they bounce and roll away somewhere, or they're probably on some of my other works in progress. This one in particular, this project definitely has several pairs on them because I decided to put my sleeves on hold on the Chalgu shorties so I could knit right from them. So then I used up some of my other markers. Whoops. Okay. But I got these from Wool and Vinyl. What says me more than I live in Florida and I love Halloween? So I got these there. I wanted to look at Wool and Vinyl's colors, and I took lots of photos and wrote down, so I knew what I wanted to get in the future. Fabulous colors, really gorgeous yarns. So I will be purchasing from them online in the future. The other item I got there was not on my list. And the reason it came home with me is because I touched it and I held it. And then I couldn't leave it behind. I tried, I put it back, but I went to Cape May Fiber, and I'm trying to look for it, sorry. It's in my bag, in my nice Rhinebeck bag. Cape May Fiber Company, which is hand-dyed yarns. It's a merino cashmere nylon comb top in one of the sunset colorways. And I spoke with the dyer and she kept showing me all the other options, not to confuse me, but I couldn't decide. And anyway, it had to come home with me because I've never spun it before, this combination, and I touched it and I just want to cuddle it. So anyway, here it is. So here are the beautiful colors. Look at that. And there's the label. So this is their Sunset 2. So I think I at least saw it up to number 7, the different dyes, I guess, that batches that she had done. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this exactly yet, how I'm going to spin it up, but that's okay. In the meantime, I'm just going to be holding it and keeping me company. It kept me company in my Airbnb, or it's just me. No, I didn't really sleep with it, but why not? Oh, it's so soft. So those were my Rhinebeck, oh, not Rhinebeck, CakePalooza purchases. Now I also have this ball of yarn, but I won this ball. This is Hobie. This is Happy Place. It's the newest yarn collaboration with Tony Lipsy of TL Yarn Crafts. And it is this fabulous yarn. It's called Apricity. It is a alpaca polyamide wool blend. Hopefully it's coming up and focusing. If not, I will put it in the description box. It is a blown yarn, so it's super lightweight. It's blown into the little netted structure, the little polyamide structure, and I don't know, I'm having a moment with these corally poppy colors. It's not quite as saturated as it looks on there. It's a little bit lighter, it's heathered. So I don't know what I'm gonna do with this, but you know, I want it, so it came home with me. And I had a lovely talk with Tony's mom. She's wonderful. So that was it for Friday of IndieUntangled and CakePalooza. While it only took me about an hour at CakePalooza and I was pretty much done, I could have gone back to IndieUntangled, but I think at that moment I had spent enough money for one day and decided to go get some groceries and go check into my Airbnb that was down the road in Kingston. So that's what I did. Sorry, take a sip of water. Are we up to, almost 20 minutes. So Saturday, the big event, right? The first day of the New York State Sheep and Wool Festival on the Dutchess County Fairgrounds in Rhinebeck, New York. I did not arrive to stand in line for the gates opening at 9, and for some reason I realized my e-tickets that I purchased in advance, and you don't have to, there's a slight discount, I think like $1 or something if you buy them in advance, but you can buy them at the gate. I think it's around $12, $13 or something. Entry for the day, and you can come in and out, get your hand stamped, you know, it's fine. So I probably didn't arrive till about 10 a.m. and it was quite chilly that morning. I think there was frost on the windows of my car, and so I wore the warmest sweater really that I had, which was the Brew sweater that I showed last week in that lovely DK alpaca yarn, that lace weight core alpaca floof from the Farmer's Daughter Fibers. That was perfect. It had the little cozy collar and I could put my hands inside the sleeves. But really by about 11 o'clock, 12, I was too hot to be in that sweater unless I was in the shade. So I swapped it out for the Goodrich Johnston cowl, the cloud drift cowl, and wore that over my t-shirt. Let's see, where did I go that day? I'm gonna check my notes so I can keep on track. Sorry, look to the side. My first stop was to go get apple cider donuts since I missed that last year. Now, I don't think there's anything really that special about the donuts themselves. For me, it's a special thing because it reminds me of the fall when I lived in Northern Illinois. In the fall, there would be corn mazes and apple cider donuts. So it has that link to it. And I missed it last year because the lines were way too long. I couldn't be bothered. But the line was fairly short, so I stood in line, enjoyed the beautiful sunny day, and chatting with people in line, and I got myself some donuts. And then after that, I headed to Poly Studios. So Poly Studios, and I've just realized I've left the other mugs and their business card somewhere else in the house, but I'll show it in here later, or at least link them in the description box. Right, Poly Studios is a small ceramics business located in Kentucky. They have a little tent area right before you get into this 2-story barn that's over by the other barn buildings and near the apple cider donuts vendors. I bought a mug from them last year, and you've probably seen some of their ceramics, at least in terms of the mugs, from other podcasters, especially if you watch Needles at the Ready, and you'll probably hear that I mention them a lot. I just kept seeing them a lot during Rhinebeck weekend, but Kevin and Ray often have their mugs as well. They do sayings and emblems on them, either related to movies or related to knitting and crafting, in terms of their big ceramic mugs. I had to go back to get a mug for my 14-year-old because, well, I didn't have to, but I had to, because last year when I was buying a mug for myself there, I spotted this mug that was in relation to the movie Spaceballs by Mel Brooks. And I just took a picture and sent it to him, like, oh, look at this funny mug. And when I got home, he said, where's the mug? Well, I hadn't actually purchased the mug. And I did look online. You can order for them online. Even if it's not shown there, you can send them a message, but I didn't find it, and we just kind of let it go, right? We missed that. So this year, since I was going, I thought, let's go get the mug. I got to there, it was maybe 10:30 or so, 11, and there weren't any on the shelves. So while one of the owners went to look in their stock for the mug, I was chatting with the potter and another, call them purchaser, buyer? What are we? Anyway, somebody else buying some of the items, and we were talking about how some of the sayings are very provocative. And the potter said, that's the point, right? That's the point of having those mugs, and it's just like wearing certain shirts with sayings on them. And this person who was purchasing the mugs was talking about one in particular, and it reminded me of a project bag that Nancy Wheeler from Knit Sip Happy, hi Nancy if you're watching, that Nancy has, and you probably know what I'm talking about, Nancy, before I even say it. It's on a project bag, and whenever she's taken it out, I think she said that her son-in-law gets really embarrassed. So I thought, I work with sport weight yarns and finger weight yarns, and so I had to get the mug, and so I did. And so you probably guessed by now, it's this one. I love a good fingering. And it's in these lovely green, blues, purples. Now normally a lot of the other ones I have are blues and dark greens, so it was also a different color, so I had to come away with that. Well, in the end, we didn't find the Spaceballs mug, not the one we were looking for, so I ordered it, and they gave me a discount on shipping. And that's a great thing at the festival as well. A lot of the vendors will let you order things from them while you're there at the festival. If you don't find what you're looking for, they sold out, or you just don't want to carry it, and they'll often give you free shipping, if not discounted shipping, by purchasing it and ordering it there at the festival. So came away with that mug. So I'm looking forward to using that. I haven't actually used it around my teenage sons because I'm not really sure. We're not going to have a conversation about it. If they ask me about it, it's going to be, you figure it out in the future. We can't talk about it. I can't talk about it with my boys. Anyway, they're half British though, so they will understand the innuendos, I think, pretty well, right? That's kind of an innate quality I find, at least with my husband. Anyway, digressing, right? Tangents. Where was I? Oh, Poly Studios. Anyway, wandered around. My whole plan for Saturday was to just wander around, take in the animals, the animal demonstrations, talk to people, right? Just enjoy the beautiful day, enjoy being there, scout around where I wanted to shop on Sunday. So that was primarily what I did. So I met up with people on Podcaster Hill or on the hill. during the afternoon. I had also before that run into the group from the Woolly Thistle. I think just about everybody was there. It's not, I'm sure it wasn't everybody, but most of them. I got to meet Renee for the first time on there, so that's always exciting to meet people that you've interacted with on social media, right, in person. So that was great. Let's see. Basically, most of the Woolly Thistle group, and Denise from Earth Tones Girl was there knitting on her sock, so I got to touch her sock in progress. It's beautiful. Got the best hugs. We all say it. Denise just gives the best hugs out there. And so that was really nice. And now I have a small plane coming over for traffic time. It's a slow flyer today. Okay. Sorry about that. Hopefully the sound is okay. I'm sure you'll tell me if it's not. Somebody will let me know. I think that was really it. Oh no, there was one more acquisition that also happened. So I ran into some more people, and Olivia, hi Olivia. Olivia, who is on Yarn Stories with Olivia on YouTube. She's also on Instagram. I think she's Olivia30M. I'll link her below. Got to see her for the first time. She actually spotted me, and so a great big hug, and then talked about our knits, and then she introduced me to her friends from Skein Yarn Shop. So it's just a wonderful event to go to. I got to meet Candace from the Farmer's Daughter Fibers for the first time, which was so fun. I think this year I didn't fangirl so much. I mean, last year, I'm not sure who I was. I am not a person to really just go up to people and start talking to them or introduce myself. Especially, you know, you get that kind of, fangirl moment, and it gets a bit awkward. Wow, did I talk to them or not? Last year, I was just going up and talking to people like, hey, Denise, oh, Kevin and Ray. You know, I don't know who I was, but I had a great time, and I got to meet all these wonderful people. This year, I actually did the opposite. I was reserved. I felt like I don't want to disturb them. They're talking to their friends. They're busy. Or I waited to talk to somebody, but they were involved in a conversation. I thought, you know, it's all right. But I finally did get to give big hugs to Kevin and Ray of Needles at the Ready podcast, because I felt so bad. We talked last year, had a nice chat, and, you know, I'm a huggy person. And so and I know there's like, I wanted to say hello, and they're wonderful. So that seemed kind of natural. It wasn't too awkward. So seeing Candace was wonderful as well. There were a couple people I just was like, oh, I'm just not going to bother them. But I did see the reason for that tangent does actually have a purpose. So I was just wandering through some of the ABC lettered buildings to see about my shopping for Sunday, and I kind of moved out of the way for some people that were passing by, looking at filming a little bit, and I saw Kevin again and his group, and they were in front of the Into the World fiber booth. And so I thought, hey, look, I'm looking at fiber, just take a look around. And so I scooted around them, and I found this bin that was a mixture of all kinds of things that they spin, wrapped up in these little balls, little bumps or whatever, fiber, like 4 ounces for $25. I thought, hey, that sounds good. And I can use that for my fiber advent calendar or countdown that I'm making for myself this year. So I justified it for myself that it was a good purchase. And I'm going to completely blame Kevin for enabling me, because I spotted him and his friends and I couldn't move yet. I was kind of stuck. And so, you know, I had to look, and then there it was. So I don't actually have that one out here with me. I think it's in my basket of fiber, but I've probably posted a picture. I'll show it later in the future. I will talk about some more spinning in the future. Right, we're at 29 minutes, so let's keep moving. That was really it. That was it for Saturday. I really should have left probably an hour earlier. I knew traffic would be busy, so I probably left somewhere close to 4, and it took me, instead of it being about a 10-minute drive to get to, maybe it's less than that, to the Riding Cliff Bridge to go west over the Hudson River so I could go south to Kingston and Ulster. It took me an hour and 15 minutes. But it was one of the most beautiful traffic jams I'd ever been in. Small windy road through all the colorful leaves. The only really downside was that I was sitting so long as the only person in the car, right? No one to talk to except myself. I didn't have my knitting in the car with me or the schedule. They were back in the trunk. So I did think about getting out at some point, but anyway, you don't need to know all that. That was a wonderful day. I met up with my friends in the evening and we had dinner and laughs, and it was wonderful. So I got to bed a little bit late that night, and amazingly though, got up early enough on Sunday that I think I got to the gates by 9:30. So the gates open at 9 a.m. And the bag check security person said that there were 30,000 people on Saturday, which I can believe because it was heaving with people, but lots of happy people in beautiful weather. So beautiful surroundings. You can't fault that. Sunday is a completely different vibe or feeling to it. It's very relaxed, fewer people, much fewer people than there are on Saturday. So that was my day really to shop, to take the time. I can't shop if I feel like I'm squeezed in and shoulder to shoulder with people and trying to look. I can't make decisions. I'm not a shopper. In general, I don't like to go out shopping, so that really I can't do it. So Sunday's the time. Still people at the booths. You see what's left over. Sometimes things have run out and you don't have it, but you could probably order it. But I wasn't really about that. I just wanted to check things out that I hadn't seen the day before. And I know I still missed areas that I just didn't make it to. Whatever reason, you just got kind of caught up with the whole good feelings that I just wander around sometimes aimlessly. I did go back to Poly Studios because my oldest son found out about the Spaceballs mug for his brother, and so then he decided, oh, I want one as well. So I did go back and buy him a different one. I'll show a picture of that one later, but it says Spaceballs. It's Spaceballs, but it says, "May the Schwartz be with you." So that's the excitement for him. So I stopped there and then quick went to Miss Babs, because Miss Babs was way too packed for me on Saturday. Although really you could just ask the workers there to find you something specifically, because they were doing that, and then you could have just waited if you already knew what you wanted ahead of time. I'm sure most people were going for the yarn that they did in collaboration with Junction Fiber Mill for Rhinebeck specifically, because on Sunday it was sold out. They had a sign saying you could order it, it was going to be online, but I wasn't really that bothered to get an exclusive colorway. I had seen it on the Junction Fiber Mill podcast, but I wanted to see it in person, right? See what those colors really looked like. But I did turn to the right as I was looking at their booth, and there was a whole display of Miss Babs' Rhinebeck colorway. So it was in these beautiful colors. There were a couple other people looking already. I could see just by looking at it that there were different weights, looked like fingering up to DK weight. So I just looked at it, touched a couple of them, found one that looked good, and it came with me. So it is this one, this glorious Gaines. Hopefully you can see all those gorgeous colors. So it's tonal, it has some speckles in it. Definitely my colors. Oh, that's probably not the right colors. Yeah, it's a bit washed out. So instead of looking this sort of grayish color, maybe it's a lot more of a light sea green tone. Their color is called Zephyr, Rhinebeck 2024, and it's on their Avon base. You know, I didn't even look at what the base was. I didn't look at anything about it other than I noticed it was fingering. I loved the colors, looked at the one next to, just thought, sure, this one looks beautiful. And I grabbed that and then had them look for another yarn for me. I wanted this colorway, which is white peppercorn. I didn't care what base it was on as long as it was fingering weight. So the lovely person in the booth dug and dug and dug to look for it, to find it. And so I only got one, which is silly. I didn't think of asking two, but I think it's because I was thinking budget, right? Just get the one, but it's a great sort of oatmeal color with a gray wash. So it's nice, perfect for me shade between a warm and a cool neutral. So I did get some Miss Babs yarns. I was very excited. I'm not sure what this will be because it is merino silk. probably a one skein shawl. I'm guessing in the future, not socks. That is not going on my feet. Was that it for, oh, I did some tasting over in the booth. So across the way is the food and beverage booth. So people that have, they sell just pickles. They might sell wine. They might sell honey, whatever it might be. So I went over there and did a lot of sampling. Also took a look at the prize winners for the photography or art contests and the knitting, crochet, and spinning contests. And there were a group of spinners spinning on the spinning wheels. Hopefully I have some of that footage at the end from that. You also, in that area is where the artwork from, for the people that have entered the competition or the logo for 2025, you could vote on, we're up there. There were a lot of them this year. The winner from last year is Leanne from Cocktail Hour at the Coop, both on Instagram and here on YouTube. And this was if you hadn't seen it, this was her winning entry from last year. She also won 2 years ago. If you saw the one with the bus, she won that one. But this was the one this year, and I got her to autograph it for me. Thanks, Leanne. So she also has entries for the next year, several entries. So we'll see. Hopefully, good luck. What did I do there? Coming out of there, so let's move on. Coming out of that barn, I ran into Leanne's sister, one of Leanne's sisters, Andy. She spotted me and we wandered off together, heading towards Leaping Llamas. But first we went into the two-story barn to go look at Morehouse Farm yarn, or all the yarns in there. And I didn't plan to buy anything in there. I have some cardigans. I had a couple projects on my list that's what I was shopping for. And most of it was fingering weight yarn. But Andy pointed out that there was a new yarn that they had that they called their Gator yarn. And it has this fantastic label. Hopefully it shows up there. So, I mean, come on, a sheep, a gator, and palm trees in the sunshine. What doesn't say Florida? So this is, it feels like it's a DK kind of worsted weight yarn, very squishy. And as it says, I think there's that it's like they're 100% amazing yarn. It already has some of my hair in it. It's a really nice black, dyed black shade. So it's a solid color. I'm going to use it to make the cardigan that they had on display along above all these yarns, this base. It is the Ferric cardigan, and I'll post a link below. It's a cropped, not super cropped, but a cropped cardigan with short sleeves. If you want to do long sleeves, you needed 2 more of these, so I just went with the short sleeve. But you'll see that it has cables and it has lace panels in it as well. So I decided to get it in the black instead of the glorious, nice sagey green color in the example or the sample, because I want to be able to have it for work, and then I can layer that over lots of my work items. That I tend to wear a lot of dark colors. We won't get into why. It's just the stage of life thing. If you know, you might know about that. So I got some of those. Thanks, Andy, for enabling that purchase. And then I wandered around a little bit more. I planned to go over, and get cheese. So I found the cheese vendor, did some cheese tasting, got some cheese, and across from the cheese was somebody on my list, and that was Fiber MacGyver. So I had heard of Fiber MacGyver a couple of years ago, but never really remembered to go back to check their updates on the website. I don't know. I think I was new to like the indie dyed yarns companies, but I'd heard about them more often, and somebody that I know through the Patreon group, Mary Beth, she was going to be working there as well, so I wanted to be sure to see her and say hello. So I went over to their booth. Their booth was on kind of the outside, on the entrance, I think, towards the handicap parking area. And it was set up with Madge, the camper, which is adorable. And the little booth set up, it was so cheery and inviting, and the colors looked amazing. I think the whole vibe was inviting to me because it reminded me of camping. I grew up in Minnesota, and summers were camping, right? We never had a camper. We were always in a tent, but my grandparents had campers, but camping. And it was great. And I hadn't even realized at the time that it was a Minnesota dyer and company, but I found out, so we had some nice chats. I got to meet Emily, the botanical knitter, and I doubt she's watching this, but if you do, hi Emily, and thanks for your help. Susie, who's the owner and dyer at Fiber MacGyver, she is Fiber MacGyver, wasn't there at the time. I think they had sent her off to like, go shop, go eat, go do other things, it's gonna be okay, we'll look after things. And so I was just really there to look at the items. There should be some footage in here somewhere of their setup. And but they had a brand new base that they were debuting at Rhinebeck, and it's called their Shanico. So the Shanico is named after the town in Oregon where, I don't know if that's exactly, I think that might be where everything's spun, but it's a cooperative of local farmers who, because you know, it takes a lot of wool to do this, to have this business, and individual farmers probably don't have enough sheep for that. So anyway, they've come together as a cooperative. It's an unprocessed wool. It's grown, processed, and spun in the US. Unprocessed, I mean, it's not unprocessed. It's not treated. I don't think it's not superwash. So this is their, I got these two colors. There we go. That's probably about right. The purple's coming out a bit long. So this is mulberry, and that's the information for the base. And then I also got it in raven, which is this sort of purpley shade of black. It looks a bit tonal. I just wanted some solids. I was really looking at just the solids and not anything else. And nothing that needed to go together, just solids that I think I would use in projects, because I don't seem to have many solids. So that's what I went with. It's really soft. It's got a nice twist. So I'll be using that. And then I also picked up a couple of their merino twist. So I got these two. There's the label. So Dune and Madge. Madge is the name of the camper van, so this is similar to the color of the camper van. So some beautiful colors. I keep finding that I keep picking up these colors. Oh, those smell really good. They still smell really sheepy. Sorry, leaning forward. Oh, and in that also came some stitch markers that are on my project already. So these cute little, that's Madge. The camper van, it's adorable. I love it. I love it. So you would think that would have been the last purchase, because I was done, right? I was done shopping. So I wandered around a little bit more because it was only kind of mid-afternoon and I wanted to be around there enjoying things. Thought, take another look. I went into the two-story barn again, and on the lower level, I looked at the shop. I'm not sure. The woman's name is Patty, and she has a bunch of like eclectic things in the booth to look at. I'm not really sure. Oh, does it say? Let me checking the receipt. I don't normally get receipts there. They ask if you want receipts, and I just say, no, I don't want evidence. Oh, there you go. She's called, sorry about the rustling. So that's her company. Oh, I think I'm shaking. Okay. And it's this, this is from Well Dressed Sheep. This is Great Adirondack Yarn Company Incorporated, and it's Sari Silk. And these beautiful colors, so I got a hank of that. I'm not really sure what I'll use it for. I'll probably just add it in somewhere into a project. I've never used it, so I'm not sure. Or if I would add it, I don't think I'd want to add it into my spinning fiber. I don't think a whole thing, because that's not going to work. So I'm not really sure, but these colors, I just love these colors. And it was very inexpensive. It's 50 yards. It's Sari Silk ribbon, fair trade silk, and it's in the color called Sundance. So that was actually my very last purchase. I did come home with some jerky for my boys and some maple syrup and a bottle of shelf-stable mulled wine. And I learned something last time, of course. First time going to the festival, I learned some tips and tricks and some things myself. And then on this trip, a great one from Laura, who's the prolific crocheter on Instagram. is to pack, not necessarily pack bubble wrap in your luggage, but those envelopes with the bubble, like the bubble mailers to put things in to pack. I'm like, that would have been a great idea. So hopefully I'll remember for next year, but it's not a guarantee. Unless Laura remind me, please. I did actually pack things in clothing and then packed around in Ziploc bags and packed my fiber around them, which were packed in plastic bags. So in case anything leaked, it should be okay. It might smell good at least. And I think that was really it for the whole weekend. And I'm at 45 minutes. Yeah, that's long. But I mean, it could be longer. I can talk when it's about these things, right? I don't think I've left anything out. If I did, whatever. That's how that is. So hopefully this format worked okay today, and that it wasn't too noisy in the background. Oh, and then I'm looking at the right place on the screen, and that I can figure out the editing. So thanks for joining me on this episode, and in the future I hope to bring you some more items. Somebody wanted me to talk about this. I'm not going to right now, but I will show it to you. So this was the finished cowl that I showed last time, was blocking. So this is the Telly Bean Knits. So I'm sorry if you stuck with me all this time. Whew. Yeah, way to go. Stamina. Thank you. So this is the look. I will put it on. Why not? Okay. There you go. So it's quite narrow at the top, but oh, like it. Yeah. All right, thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time for episode 3 of Knit, Purl, Repeat. Happy crafting.